Hey everyone, welcome back to the pit. We're not indoors today, we're outdoors. Because as bad as the lighting is going to be all day long today, that's the biplane. That's that little white beast, that big white beast that we're going to go ahead. And the job today, it's about 3 hours for me. It won't be that long for you. We're going to go ahead and get the front cowling off, get the top, and I'll show it to you before I do it. And then you guys get to listen to music as I zip around like a speedy little bee, getting everything ready to pull the tank out. I'm going to show you exactly what I've got to do, and I'm just going to start zipping right through it, because it's, like I said, it's going to take me about 3 hours. And my whole goal today is to go ahead, for you guys anyway, is to get all of this taken care of. I'm putting a new pickup line in the smoke oil tank, and I built that. It's buried in the plane, and you'll see why I buried it in there, because I wanted it right on the CG, so that way in flight we weren't going to be having an issue with all of a sudden either becoming tail heavy or you know, pretty much tail light. Sure. So that's why I put the tank exactly where I did, and I think it's a minimum of 24 ounce tank. It might be a 32 ounce tank. I don't know. We'll find out, because I put it in there years ago. So let's go ahead and get started. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I had to put a couple different light sources in there. You can see the one shiny little thing back in that corner. I've got one there, one down below that you probably can't see, and then same thing on the other side. Then I've got two screws up on the top. Those two screws, I almost guarantee you can't see because they're black screws. That's what holds this piece up here on the top. This whole section comes out, and that's where I've got my fuel line on this side and my smoke oil line on that side. So this whole piece has to come off. So as soon as I get this unbuttoned, I'll bring you back up just to show you what's underneath this. La música! Alright, now to show you what's underneath here, here's the fuel tank. You can see how everything just kind of runs down through. This here is for the, got to get this right, this is for the fuel tank, and this one over here is for the smoke oil pump. Hopefully you can see that pretty good. So I just have one line on this one, and I have two on that one. So, so pretty much easy to understand. Here's where I have to put one of the batteries. I had to move one of the batteries farther forward when everything was all set up. So the reason why I have to take this out is because I've got to get this whole hose assembly out. And the problem is when you put this in, you have no way to run these up through the cap on the top here without taking everything off the front. So, and this is how well this works. That's why on the, let me grab it just so you can take a good look. This was why I built this with this piece of plywood. It's 1/8 inch ply, and I cut this out and epoxied it all together. There's a little better light. Epoxied everything together, and I've got, and it's kind of hard to see, but I've got a very good epoxy fillet inside here. So it's got a nice curvature to it. So this is what holds everything in place right up against the firewall here. Of course, in the plans, there was nothing like it on this. I just decided I wanted to do it this way, so I didn't have hard points here and screws coming through the side of it. I wanted to have it about as smooth as possible. So, and that I pretty much accomplished. Oh, let me go ahead and get this little thing flipped upside down and show you where we go next. Oh, before I continue, what holds this down in the back is not screws and it's not pins. It's two neodymium magnets, one on this side, one on this side. This one, just I realized it's a little bit loose, so I'll pop that out, reglue it back down again with the proper side up, or I'll just maybe just wick some thin CA around it. But yeah, so what it is it's magnets on the back side, and then up front it's the screws that come through the firewall. So there's really no issue with this thing popping up in flight and going anywhere because the magnets are strong enough to hold everything down. All right, now this is how everything is stuck down here underneath. Here's the tank, and you can see the way I actually built proper supports in for the tank, because the way this plane was set up is that there was formers in here, and I had to modify the formers just to hold the tank. And you can see where the tank is right here on the lower wing. So we're pretty much right on the CG of the airplane where we're sitting. So the plane on initial takeoff and landing, whether this tank is full or empty, there's no change. So once you get the plane set up for flight, rock solid, you don't have to make any changes to the controls. It's the way I like to do it. All right, so what's in here and everything that's got to come out, pretty much everything you see here. All right, the fuel pump, excuse me, not the fuel pump, it's actually a smoke oil pump. It's like a fuel pump or a windshield washer pump. The pump has to come out, the controller has to come out, the battery's got to come out, of course the radio system and the servos, and all this needs to come out. This plate needs to come out, and then what happens is this has to get slid back into the fuselage that way, so that I can go ahead and rotate it up, and it will just miss this. It'll just slide on the top of this to come on out. So that's why it's such a pain in the butt, because you got to pull everything out of here. So let me go ahead and see if I could set the camera up so you can watch the fun. Let's get started. All right, came out. That was a lot quicker. That's my third time doing it. Now I pretty much know how to do it. That probably took me total time, believe it or not, with the cowling in that was probably about a half hour. So I'm getting better at it. Problem is putting it back in. Sometimes you have to super glue some of the screws to the Allen key just to get it down that deep inside without dropping it. So that's where it gets a little more interesting. So anyway, you can see I used a piece of clear tubing that was designed, don't know if it was designed for that type of oil, because it is smoke oil. Normally everything you put inside that tube stays somewhat flexible. This, as you can see, didn't. So that was probably the problem, that when all of a sudden you put the smoke pump in, you went inverted, it sucked a little bit of air in. Once air gets into that motor, it doesn't want to prime, and sometimes you have to fight it. The way I've got it set up now on my planes is that regular flight with the smoke pump on, it hits a certain voltage / RPM that's perfect for flying, but then all of a sudden it cavitates. Now I have them set up so that I can throw it up so it's full power to it. So a lot of times that can just kind of pull enough vacuum through where it can pull liquid back up in through the pump again. Now I have not had a problem with my cheap little $4 Amazon ones like the one in the Taylorcraft. I just don't want to change out that one for this plane, just because I don't know if that speed controller is going to work properly with that motor. I can try it. I'm probably going to try it before I go ahead and button everything back up again. I might want to see if that motor, if I can get it to function the way I want it to, because the motor is easy to get in and out. It's the tank that's the hard part. So let me go ahead and figure out what I want to do with this. What I originally used on it was windshield washer tubing, because believe it or not, that stuff works great. And it's kind of hard to see it, but right down here, that's what I've been using just to pretty much, it's for the fuel pump in the carburetor. And what I like to do is I like to take it out of the cowling, so that way you're not worried about the air pressure on the cowling, and putting that back in the fuselage. It works the same way with all my planes, all my gassers. The Taylorcraft, of course this plane, the other little biplane, the Stomp, and I've got a couple other more gas airplanes that I do the same thing. I actually pump them into the fuselage. That way it's holding a constant pressure. That way the barometric pressure / the pressure coming into the front of the cowling isn't rising and falling, where that's going to have an adverse reaction to the carburetor. Smart thing to do. So anyway, let me go ahead and get all the stuff I want to do to replace this. I may just replace it with the thinner fuel line, because this stuff does still say pliable. What I've been using on the other planes is not the heavy Tygon. I get the same stuff, let's just call it Tygon. It's made out of Chinesium, so you know which country it comes from, but it does work good. All right, now, Tygon. Yeah, because that business, that company, it's about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from where I work. So I would just as soon, if I'm going over there for something, because, and yeah, it's the orange plane again. I've got to get another big 6-inch tire, because that one I took off with it and it was fine. When I landed with it, it was flat, and I was rolling through it and realized when you squeeze the tread together, it had a blowout. So I mean, these tires are from 1986, so you got to figure, even just pretty much just sitting doing nothing for 35 years, yeah, it's going to fail. 35 years they'll last. So anyway, what I've got is, this is the stuff that I get out of from Amazon, and it's 1/8 inch inside diameter. It's a thin wall, and so with the thin wall tubing, it's going to have a lot more flexibility inside the tank, I'm hoping. If not, I've got some of the windshield washer tubing upstairs. I just don't know if I want to put that in there right now. So I'll think about it before I button it up, but I'm going to cut a piece of this, put it inside the tank, and see what it wants to do. All right, it's all put back together again. It was fun. Let's get it fired up, and then we'll test the smoke system. Now, the way that I start this one is because I didn't put a choke on it. It's my index finger, and all I do is I put it, right now the ignition's turned off. Even though it's a magneto, I have it set up so it's grounded out so it can't fire. So pretty much what I do with this one, I take my finger, stick it in the throttle, and just in the carburetor, and just slowly pump it over until I feel gasoline coming and hitting the tip of my finger. And because it has been started in a couple years, it might be a little iffy on getting this thing primed up quick. There we go. All right, I had to move the plane a little farther forward away from the house, get all the doors closed as you can see, so I'm not pumping smoke inside. She's all primed, ready to go. Let's see what she can do. hope you guys were as happy as I was. She's smoking pretty darn good. So let's just go ahead. We're going to call this a video, and the next time you see her, she'll be up at the field painting smoke in the sky.